There's a paradox embedded deep in the fabric of human desire that most men never recognize. The harder you reach for a woman's affection, the faster it dissolves in your hands. The more you demonstrate your interest, the less she feels compelled to earn yours. We live in an era where men are taught to communicate clearly, express their feelings openly, and pursue relentlessly. Yet this same approach triggers an ancient circuit in her psychology that categorizes you as already conquered territory, unworthy of her sustained fascination. The instant attraction you're seeking doesn't come from what you say or how you look. It emerges from a tension you create in the space between her expectations and your indifference to meeting them. For thousands of generations, women evolved to navigate a world where their reproductive choices carried monumental consequences. A poor selection could mean death during childbirth without support, or raising children in scarcity without a protector. This wasn't abstract philosophy. This was survival carved into the behavioral architecture of the female psyche. Because the stakes were catastrophic, women developed sophisticated testing mechanisms to filter men. Not logical tests, emotional ones, subconscious ones. Tests designed to answer a single question. Is this man operating from abundance or scarcity? The modern dating landscape has changed everything about context, but nothing about these fundamental drives. When she meets you, her nervous system isn't evaluating your resume. It's scanning for evidence of your position in the social hierarchy. And the most reliable signal isn't what you tell her. It's how unbothered you are by her potentially walking away. Let's examine what happens in her mind during those first moments of interaction. She's not consciously thinking about evolutionary biology or mating strategies. She's experiencing an emotional algorithm running in the background of her awareness. When you approach with too much enthusiasm, when your eyes linger too long seeking approval, when you fill every silence with more words to keep her engaged, her subconscious receives a clear transmission. This man needs something from me. He's operating from deficit. And the moment that categorization occurs, the frame is set. You've positioned yourself as the person seeking value rather than offering it. This isn't a moral judgment. It's a recognition of the psychological machinery that governs initial attraction. The woman standing in front of you isn't deliberately trying to be difficult. She's responding to signals she can't consciously control her response to. And you're sending the exact frequency that deactivates her desire. The masculine energy that triggers instant attraction operates from a fundamentally different place. It doesn't seek, it selects. It doesn't pursue, it allows pursuit. This isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. This is about aligning your behavior with the ancient template of high-value males throughout human history. The chief didn't chase. The warrior didn't beg. The builder didn't abandon his purpose to convince a woman of his worth. These men moved through the world with a quiet certainty that their attention was the valuable commodity, and women organized themselves around access to that attention. You cannot fake this. You cannot perform it as a tactic while internally operating from desperation. But you can reconstruct your entire relational framework by understanding what instant attraction actually is. It's not her seeing you. It's her suddenly realizing you might not see her as essential. And that realization creating a gap she feels compelled to close. The modern man has been conditioned to believe that attraction builds through rapport, commonality, and emotional connection. These elements matter tremendously for long-term relationships, but they do nothing to create the initial spark. In fact, premature emotional availability often extinguishes whatever ember might have existed. When you meet a woman and immediately begin sharing your vulnerabilities, your hopes, your detailed life story, you're unknowingly communicating that you've already decided she's special before she's done anything to earn that designation. This triggers what psychologists call the scarcity signal. If you're this available, this eager to connect, this willing to invest emotional energy in someone you just met, her subconscious concludes that you probably don't have better options. And humans, especially women when it comes to mate selection, are hardwired to want what others want and dismiss what others dismiss. Here's what creates instant attraction instead: presence without agenda. You're fully there in the conversation, making strong eye contact, listening with genuine attention, but there's no energetic reaching. You're not trying to impress. You're not attempting to steer the interaction toward getting her number or securing a date. You're simply occupying your space with the quiet confidence of a man who knows his value and doesn't need external validation to confirm it. This creates a dissonance in her experience. Most men she encounters are either completely uninterested or obviously interested and working an angle. You're presenting a third option, engaged but unattached to outcome. This makes her curious. What's different about this one? Why isn't he performing for me like the others? That curiosity is the seed of instant attraction. The second element is measured scarcity of your validation. Women are sophisticated readers of male attention. They know when you're rationing compliments as a strategy versus when you're genuinely selective about what impresses you. The difference lies in your internal state. If you're withholding praise because some dating coach told you to, she'll sense the manipulation. But if you've genuinely cultivated standards, if you've built a life where a pretty face doesn't immediately override your discernment, then your selective validation carries weight. When you do notice something about her, when you do offer a genuine compliment, it lands with 10 times the impact because she's already registered that you're not easily impressed. This is the mechanism behind instant attraction. You've created value for your attention by making it scarce, and humans ascribe more importance to resources that aren't freely available. Let's talk about the physical dimension of this dynamic. Your body language communicates more about your status than any words you could arrange. When you're in her presence, are you square to her, body fully oriented in her direction? Or are you slightly angled, suggesting you're comfortable but not completely absorbed? Are you leaning in, physically reaching across the space between you, or are you relaxed in your position, allowing her to come into your space? These micro adjustments signal entirely different realities. The man who leans in is seeking. The man who leans back is receiving. Neither is inherently superior in all contexts, but for creating that instant spark, the masculine energy that doesn't chase almost always proves more magnetic. She should feel like you're a sun she can orbit around, not a planet pulled into her gravitational field. Silence becomes one of your most powerful tools when you understand its psychological impact. Most men fear conversational gaps. They interpret silence as failure, as the interaction dying. So they frantically fill every pause with more talking, more questions, more entertainment. This communicates anxiety. It tells her you're worried about losing her attention. The man who creates instant attraction treats silence differently. He allows the pause. He's comfortable in the space between words. This comfort forces her to sit with her own internal experience. And if you've been calibrated correctly up to that point, what she's sitting with is curiosity and a growing desire to know more about this unusually self-possessed man in front of her. The silence becomes a vacuum she wants to fill. And the moment she starts seeking your validation, initiating topics, working to keep your attention, the frame has completely reversed. The ancient Stoics understood something about desire that modern culture has forgotten. They recognized that attachment is the source of suffering, and that the man who needs nothing is the most powerful person in any room. This isn't about becoming cold or detached from human connection. It's about building your life on such a solid foundation of purpose, mission, and self-respect that no single woman's response can shake your inner stability. When you've done this internal work, instant attraction becomes almost automatic because you're no longer performing indifference. You're embodying it. The woman in front of you is genuinely just one option in a landscape of possibilities, and that truth radiates from every aspect of your presentation. She can feel that you'd be perfectly fine if she walked away, and that feeling makes walking away the last thing she wants to do. Consider the language patterns that create versus destroy attraction. The man operating from scarcity asks questions designed to keep her talking. What do you do? Where are you from? What do you like to do for fun? These aren't terrible questions, but the energy behind them often reeks of interview mode, of desperately trying to find common ground to build connection. The man operating from abundance makes statements and allows her to engage or not. You seem like someone who takes herself too seriously, delivered with a slight smile. This isn't a question seeking information. It's a frame being offered. She can accept it, reject it, or play with it. But regardless of her response, you've positioned yourself as someone making assessments rather than seeking approval. This subtle shift in linguistic power creates the tension that sparks instant attraction. Let's explore the concept of qualification versus disqualification. Standard dating advice tells you to look for green flags, to identify whether she's worth your time. This is correct in principle, but usually executed poorly. Most men qualify women by continuing to invest attention regardless of her behavior, essentially treating every woman as pre-qualified until she does something egregious. The man who generates instant attraction flips this. He assumes she's not particularly special until she demonstrates otherwise. This isn't about being rude or dismissive. It's about maintaining a posture of selectivity. When she says something genuinely interesting, you let your face show you're impressed. When she's being surface level or testing you with attitude, your expression remains neutral, unbothered. You're constantly communicating through micro reactions. My attention is earned, not freely given. This framework makes your attention valuable, and valuable things create desire. The testing phase is where most men unknowingly disqualify themselves. Women test. This isn't controversial or secret knowledge. They test to see if you're actually the confident man you're presenting, or if that's a thin veneer over insecurity. The tests come in many forms. She might say something slightly rude to see if you react defensively. She might mention another guy to gauge if you show jealousy. She might go quiet to see if you scramble to re-engage her. The man who creates instant attraction recognizes these tests and passes them not by having perfect responses, but by being genuinely unshaken. When she mentions another guy, you're curious rather than threatened. He sounds interesting. You two would probably be good together. This response only works if it's authentic, if you truly don't need this particular woman's validation. But when it is authentic, when you really would be fine if she pursued someone else, the effect is devastatingly attractive. You've just demonstrated you're not like the other men competing for her. There's a specific moment in many interactions where instant attraction either crystallizes or evaporates. It's the moment when she expects you to make the standard move, to ask for her number, to suggest meeting up, to clearly signal your romantic interest, and you don't. You're enjoying the conversation, but when it reaches a natural conclusion, you're comfortable ending it without securing the next step. You might say something like, "This was actually interesting. I need to get going," and then you leave. No ask, no number exchange, just a clean exit. What happens in her mind during the hours after this interaction is the alchemy of attraction. She expected a pattern, the pattern didn't occur, and now she's thinking about you. She's wondering if she misread your interest. She's questioning whether she should have been more forward. And if you happen to cross paths again, her entire energy will have shifted because you've created something most men never create: uncertainty about your level of interest. The physical escalation component deserves particular attention because this is where intellectual understanding often fails to translate into embodied action. Creating instant attraction through conversation and presence means nothing if you can't physically escalate when the window opens. But here's the crucial distinction. You're not escalating from a place of hoping she'll accept. You're escalating from a place of offering her an opportunity to step into your reality. When you touch her arm during conversation, there's no tentativeness, no testing to see if it's okay. Your touch is calm, natural, assumed to be welcome. If she's not receptive, you notice and recalibrate without making it significant. This unshakable calibration communicates that you're experienced, that you understand these dynamics, that you're not thrown off by a woman's response either way. That calm competence is deeply attractive because it signals you've been here before, you'll be here again, and whether she comes along is genuinely up to her. Let's examine what happens after you've created this initial spark. Many men successfully generate instant attraction, but then immediately revert to scarcity behaviors. They got her number, so now they text constantly. They got a date, so now they rearrange their entire schedule to accommodate hers. They got physical, so now they become emotionally available and start discussing relationship futures. Each of these shifts communicates the same thing. The challenge is over. I've been running game, but now that I've caught you, I'm revealing my actual lower value self. The man who sustains attraction understands that the principles that created it must continue. Your life remains full. Your purpose remains primary. She's a woman you're enjoying, not the center of your universe. This consistency between how you acted when you met and how you act 3 months later is what separates men who get initial interest from men who build genuine, lasting desire. There's a spiritual dimension to this that transcends tactics and techniques. The truly magnetic man isn't magnetic because he's memorized the right behaviors. He's magnetic because he's done the internal work to genuinely not need external validation. He's confronted his fears of being alone. He's built a life so rich with purpose, friendship, challenge, and growth that a woman's presence enhances but doesn't complete him. This internal state cannot be faked long-term. You can perform outcome independence for a date or two, but eventually, the truth of your inner world will leak through your behaviors. This is why instant attraction, while partially about technique, is primarily about transformation. You must become the kind of man who legitimately doesn't need any particular woman. And the beautiful paradox is that becoming that man makes you the most attractive to the women you actually want. The final element to understand is the role of masculine direction. Instant attraction creates the spark, but direction sustains the flame. Women are attracted to men who know where they're going, both in the immediate interaction and in life broadly. When you suggest getting drinks, you name the place. When you meet up, you have a plan. When conversation lulls, you lead it somewhere interesting. This isn't about being controlling. It's about being decisive. The feminine energy, in its healthiest expression, wants to relax into the masculine's lead. This doesn't mean women can't make decisions or don't have preferences. It means that in the realm of attraction and romance, a man's willingness to take responsibility for the direction of the interaction allows her to drop into her feminine, which is where she feels most attracted. Your decisiveness communicates competence, experience, and the kind of stability that her deepest psychology is screening for. You now understand that instant attraction isn't about what you say. It's about who you are when you say it. It's not about the techniques you deploy. It's about the inner reality those techniques reflect. The man who makes her unable to resist isn't performing confidence. He possesses it. He's not strategically withholding validation. He's genuinely selective about what impresses him. He's not playing hard to get. He's hard to get because his life is full and his standards are high. The transformation from being the kind of man women politely entertain to being the kind of man women can't stop thinking about doesn't happen through memorizing scripts. It happens through building yourself into someone whose presence naturally creates the tension, curiosity, and desire that we call instant attraction. That's not a trick. That's a way of being. And once you embody it, you'll never have to chase again. You'll simply exist, and the right women will organize themselves around the opportunity to be in your world.